Now, as I'm sure a lot of you have already heard, there's a brand new generation of Adidas Predator with several different variations of their top-end model. Of course, the one that Adidas is pushing the most is the most expensive and the one that's laceless, but the one that's going to be the most popular amongst pros as well as consumers is likely the version that I have inside this box, the replacement for the very good Predator 20.1 Low. I have here the brand new Predator Freak.1 Low, which sees minimal change but definite improvement over the boot that it replaces, and also bears a brand new retail price of $250 rather than $225. And I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think the price increase was warranted given the minimal amount of change that Adidas has made with these. But with that said, I do think they have made some improvements over the previous model. Where I think things get a little bit tricky is whether or not it is worth it to upgrade to the Freak.1 Low if you wore the Predator 20.1 Low or just a Predator 20 in general. I'm gonna try to answer that question for you in today's video because there's still something about these from a feel perspective that you can't get from any other pair of football boots. So if you're interested in learning more, including how they fit and feel on feet, please stick around, watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's gonna take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $250 retail price. As always, if you guys do enjoy the video, please don't forget to support it with a like. It really means a lot to me. And I know a lot of you also watch these videos but aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you want to keep up with the latest in boot reviews, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you don't miss out on my next video. So let's get right into it. Here is the old Predator 20.1 Low, and here is the new Predator Freak.1 Low. The comment that I've been hearing a lot is that they look almost exactly the same, which is true. They still feature pretty well all of the same core elements, and while there have been several changes made, I would say there's only two in particular that are truly, I guess meaningful is the right word, and that is the new Demonskin spikes as well as the new prime knit upper. I mentioned this in the launch video that I made, but I'll point it out again. You'll definitely notice that the 0.1 Low this time around looks significantly more premium, on par with the more expensive and laceless Plus model. And that's because with the 20 generation of Predator, the Plus just had much more premium finishing and extra detail to the upper and sole plate that you didn't get on the 0.1 variations. They've changed that this time around. So in terms of just looking better, the Freak.1 is a big improvement over the model it replaces. Something else they've changed is the upgrade to a full prime knit upper on the 0.1 model, which was previously only found on the Plus. And like I said with the previous generation, I thought the upper difference between the prime knit of the Plus and the textile based material of the 0.1 was minimal, but it's definitely noticeable this time around. I'm not sure if they've changed the prime knit in any way. They probably have, at least a little bit, because this upper does feel significantly more soft, sock-like, pliable. In general, the boots just feel more comfortable on feet, which is, I think, the one thing that wasn't really that great about the previous gen of Preds, whether you went for the Plus or the 0.1. The upper just had more of a plasticky sensation than you would expect. That's something that's labeled as a sock-like material. Something else that I think contributes to the softness of this upper is the new Demonskin spikes. This is Demonskin 2.0. You can see the branding right there. And you'll notice that the spikes are still scattered across the entire upper. There's actually more coverage this time around because it goes all the way down the side. Normally they would cut off right about here on the 0.1 model, and then it spans all the way through the midfoot as well. It's now 210 total spikes. I'm not sure exactly how many there was on the 0.1 generation previously, but they've basically cut the number of Demonskin spikes in half coming from the previous generation of Predator, mainly based on the fact that they have a brand new shape here. I think the spikes themselves sit a little bit taller. They're a little bit more spaced out through the toe box and forefoot area, and then get more dense in kind of the striking area. And they're a much softer rubber. Also, unlike the previous generation, the Demonskin spikes, both the compound as well as the shape, remain the same across all top-end Predator models. So whether you go for the Freak Plus or Freak.1, you're getting the most premium variation of their Predator spikes, the Demonskin spikes, which is definitely a good thing. Basically what these do is provide a ton of extra grip on the ball. If you just listen closely, These spikes are extremely grippy, and because they have that little bit of flexibility to them, there's a little bit of a break in the grip. So if you compare it to the previous generation, certainly the 0.1 model, which had these very dense, almost hard rubber spikes, this is plenty of grip on the ball upon initial contact, but because the spikes have this ability to flex with the new shape as well as the spaced out, I guess, positioning of them all, it doesn't seem to be quite as clingy when you try to drag the ball, which is something that is super noticeable if you're coming directly from the 0.1 or even the 20 plus variation of the Predator. Something I'll also say is that if you're just trying a brand new Predator for the first time, even though these are less grippy than the Predator 20s, there's still going to be an adjustment period. There's a ton of additional grip, which I really like from a control and especially a striking standpoint. Obviously, the Predator series was built upon power and swerve as kind of main promotional talking points with the rubber striking elements. And this is pretty much the exact same concept, just in a much more, I guess, low profile and less bulky way of doing things. So the additional grip isn't necessarily going to make you more accurate. It's certainly not going to allow you to score more goals, but the ability to certainly generate spin on a ball, I think, is a little bit easier. There's definitely additional grip, and I definitely think that can help you depending on, I guess, how much stock you put into your football boots and just your general technique. Again, for free kicks, there's no other football boot that I would rather be wearing than the Predator. But does that necessarily mean that these make my free kicks better? Your guess is as good as mine. Also on the topic of durability, specifically in regards to these Demonskin spikes, a lot of people did note with the previous gen Pred 20, whether it was the Plus or the 0.1, that spikes could come off as you play in the boots. It's inevitable. They're basically just glued to the surface. It's going to happen. They're not indestructible. But I will say on my pair, the right boot totally fine so far. The left boot, I've already lost a spike right here. And this one is, as you can see, kind of just hanging on by a thread. So spikes are still going to fall off, whether or not these will be more or less durable than the previous generation. I don't expect there to be any significant difference, but it is something to be aware of. Nonetheless, there are 210 total spikes on this version of the Predator Freak. If you lose a couple, it's unlikely to affect the performance in any noticeable way. But just to summarize, this new prime knit upper does feel significantly better than the 20.1 that it replaces. It's equally as thin, but softer and more pliable. And then these new Demonskin spikes, they pretty much provide the same level of grip when striking the ball, but there's just a little bit more of kind of a laid back sense in terms of the boots not feeling as overly grippy as the previous generation could feel at certain times. From there, just about everything else on this boot feels pretty much the same, and that's not to say that there aren't other differences. I'm going to point them out in just a second, but they don't really make a noticeable difference in terms of the feel or performance of the football boots. Of course, this being a 0.1 model, it still features a one-piece upper construction, the central portion of the upper being filled in with an elasticated prime knit with a little bit of a liner on the underside, exactly the same as the previous generation, even the exact same lacing system running down the middle, which if you're looking for the best possible lockdown out of a new Predator model, I know the laceless thing is the one that they're pushing, but the 0.1 models, whether you go for the low or the mid, is definitely going to be the best in terms of objective performance. As far as the cut of the low cut is concerned, because there is also a mid-cut variation that now features the exact same collar design as the Laceless Plus, which is a change, but we'll talk about that in its own video. You can see that this has a little bit more, I guess, coverage across the front of the foot with this extension piece to the prime knit material, where you can see on the previous generation, it was kind of cut out a little bit more and you had this extra flap. This kind of connects more to the sides of the collar where you have this elasticated prime knit material. It's really more of a visual difference rather than something that you're actually going to feel or notice, but in general, it feels fine, no complaints. The low cut in general still feels like a standard low cut. You will notice at the back of the heel, it no longer has those extra padded inserts, which serve absolutely no purpose. I'm not sure where they were there to begin with, but they've eliminated them on the new Freak.1, which doesn't really change anything that you're going to be able to feel. You will find that the internal heel liner is a nicely padded kind of microfiber material, plenty of extra padding. Heel lockdown is great as well. Then the insole, it's fully removable and identical to the previous generation. It has this nice soft synthetic material as a liner, and it's made from a single layer of the same black foam that we're used to seeing on most Adidas boots. And then moving to the base, they haven't changed a single thing. This is the same control frame, sole plate, and stud pattern carrying over from the previous generation, with the external heel counter shaped very much like what was found once upon a time on the Predator Absolute. Nonetheless, the sole plate has nice flexibility to it. There's really nothing that you're going to notice as far as a difference is concerned because it is exactly the same like I mentioned. And then the stud pattern, it's the same general layout we're used to seeing from the Adi brand. I wouldn't say that it's particularly exceptional in terms of overall performance. You have more of a bladed style stud in the heel and then kind of more rounded style studs through the forefoot. But in terms of just overall traction, it certainly gets the job done. And there isn't much to complain about. It was a huge improvement when it came out in the Predator generation. I really didn't have any major issues with it. So the fact that they have carried it over is pretty predictable. And again, something that I don't really have a problem with. Except for them increasing the price by $25, of course. And then when it comes to weight, unsurprisingly, they are virtually identical to the model they replace in a size 9.5 US. You can see that the Predator Freak.1 Low weighs in at 8.3 ounces, the equivalent of 235 grams, which is within a gram or two, basically the variation that you're going to get in manufacturing from a 20.1 Low. So if you didn't find those heavy, you won't find these heavy. And in the scope of top-end football boots, they're not super lightweight, but they're definitely light enough. So here's a look at the new Preds on feet, and I know I haven't talked about it much in this video, but I really like the way that they look. I think the Demonskin spikes give it a very organic, aggressive look. I like the new graphics package, especially the Predator Instinct style stripes here on the medial side. Overall, I think they look quite good, and a lot of you guys have been asking if SR4U laces is done. It's not. I have some royal blue reflective SR4U laces on these boots, as you can see. They're still available at sr4ulaces.com, which is linked down below as it always is. I only put them in because a lot of you guys have been asking about it. As far as the overall feel of the boots is concerned, if you wore the Predator 20.1, either low or mid, these are going to feel pretty familiar. They still have the same base shape. I think the noticeable difference here is because of the more evenly spaced out Demonskin spikes as well as the new prime knit upper. It's just a little bit softer, a little bit more flexible, and in general, out of the box comfort, I would say, is definitely improved. They just feel slightly more premium. It's not a night and day difference, but it is something that you will notice if you're really familiar with the older model. As far as overall lockdown is concerned, really good throughout the entire foot, no major complaints there. As far as width is concerned, they are the same shape as the Pred 20s, which means that there's decent width through the heel, forefoot, and toe box area, but then it kind of tightens up through the midfoot where, I don't want to say it pinches a little bit, but it's definitely tightest through that area of the foot. So if you have wide feet, especially through the midfoot, you might find these to be a little bit uncomfortable, but in general, they're going to be suitable for most people. And then as far as sizing is concerned, that hasn't changed either. I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order some for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size. And of course, I'm wearing them with some white Pure Grip socks, which is my own brand of grip socks, available in a wide variety of colors for an extremely affordable price of just $14.99 a pair. If you're interested in some for yourself, the website to check out is puregripsocks.com, which will be linked down below. So in conclusion, whenever a new model comes out, I think there's always this expectation that it's going to improve on the previous one, and I think they've done that successfully with the Freak.1 Low. The more important question, however, is have they improved the boots enough to justify the upgrade from a 20.1 Low to the Freak.1 Low? And I think the answer to that is if your 20.1s are doing just fine, there's probably not that much reason to spend the extra money on these. And I realize that sounds bad, but it's not all bad. You have to trust me on this one. I think what the Predator Freak.1 Low does really well over the previous generation is provide a more refined experience of what the Predator 20 generation did so well in the first place. It's a little bit softer, it's a little bit more comfortable. I think the grip in general feels more evenly distributed and is more manageable across the entire foot. But other than those kind of minor details in the grand scheme of things, it's virtually the exact same football boot over again for an extra $25, which I still think is completely unnecessary. If you just want the best variation of a Predator Low, then I definitely think this is the one to buy. But if you can get a Predator 20.1 Low on sale for half price like you can in so many colorways right now, I think that's a hard deal to pass up versus paying double the price for these. And for anybody that cares about my own personal preferences when it comes to football boots, these are definitely one of my personal favorites. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, first link down below, that's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal $250 retail price. Any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comment section. If you aren't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.